Hi, it's Sherri from A Quilting Life, and I'm here today to share my Scrappy Gumdrops quilt. I have had this on the quilt ladder for some of our recent podcast episodes and videos, and I've been getting so many questions, so I decided to make a video for you and let you know about the PDF pattern for this quilt. And I also want to talk about an upcoming sew-along that is perfect for your scrappy fabrics, for any kind of scrap quilt that you want to do, or for a collection. And then finally, I want to share some tips and ideas for you for another scrappy quilt that has been really popular, not only with me but with thousands of other quilters. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first, just a little bit of the history about this quilt. I designed and made this quilt way back in, I think I started in probably 2013, but I finished it in 2014. And I was collecting a lot of scraps and from a lot of brightly different fabric collections. And I just wanted to make a quilt to document all of these favorite fabrics. And some of them, I feel like I had participated in a scrap exchange and really got tiny pieces. And I thought, how can I make sure to use these pieces? Anyway, I kept making these little blocks, assembling them by color with the white center squares, and then I decided to put them into a quilt. And around this time, I had recently had my first project accepted for publication in American Patchwork and Quilting, and it was actually my hexagon tote bag. And so I thought, hey, I'm gonna send them a couple quilts, and I actually sent them this quilt and another quilt, and they did publish this quilt, and it was called Gumdrops, and which I thought was a perfect name that they named it that. And so anyway, it actually had been in my closet for several years, but I was doing my spring decorating, and I decided to make my office just full of bright and happy quilts, and I put this on the quilt ladder. And then, as I mentioned, this quilt has been seen in so many videos, people have asked a lot of questions about it. So anyway, yeah, back from 2014, 2013, so probably about 10 years ago, I started working on this. And I want to tell you, it does finish at 45.5 by 59, so it's a perfect lap size quilt. Of course, you can make it bigger or smaller. I do have a PDF only available in my shop that you can get. It's not available in a paper copy, but it is a PDF in my shop. And there's kind of a fun little way that you put this together that helps you, that fun little way to do the sashing and the border. And so anyway, really love this quilt. I wanted to talk about some other scrappy things. We're actually gonna pop up a picture right now of my Happy Go Lucky quilt that I made in Simply Delightful. I'm waiting for the quilt to come back. I shipped it off to Fat Quarter Shop, and they actually used it in a live stream. And so as soon as I get it back, I will set the final date, but we are going to be doing a sew along with that quilt in June. And just want to let you know now, so I've been talking about this for, wow, probably since I first introduced that pattern back in August of 2022, but it's finally going to happen this June. The quilt has 3 different blocks: stars, churn dash blocks, and 9 patch blocks. And you can make it with a collection. The pattern is written for a Fat Quarter bundle, but it's also really great to use scrappy. And I will have more information for that for you soon, and including a little printable that you can use to keep track of the blocks that you make. So that'll be coming up in June, and I just wanted to mention that. Okay, now I want to talk about another scrappy quilt. Okay, so this is my scrappy trip around the world, is what it's called. It was a free tutorial from Bonnie Hunter, and her tutorial has actually been online since, I believe, 1999. I looked it up. But a lot of people started doing, I became aware of it in 2013 when a lot of quilters were doing a sew along with this pattern on Instagram, and they were using the hashtag Scrappy Trip Along. So this was my first Scrappy trip along that I made. And again, we'll have a link in the description so you can go to Bonnie's tutorial for this. I did want to create this little like chain going through my quilt, and so if you want to do that, you have to have at least one strip of white fabric in each of your blocks. I have a free PDF for you that has a lot of information that can be really helpful. You have to go to her website to get the tutorial, but what I have on my PDF is yardages for different sizes of quilts. I did a class on this several years ago and did this PDF, and so I have measurements and the total number of strips you needed, because this is a strip pieced quilt, for baby quilts, crib quilts, lap quilts, a square lap, a twin, a queen, and a king. So I have the measurements for each of those on this PDF, and then how many strips you need. For example, for a baby quilt that measures 36 by 36, you're going to need 54 strips. You're going to be making 9 blocks, and 9 of those strips, if you want to put a little pattern through with the white or a light like I did, then 9 of those strips would need to be light. So I have all that information for you in a little table, and I also have information as far as how many strips you can get from a fat quarter and how many strips you can get from a yard. So that's really helpful because you don't need full width of fabric strips for her method, and so that information is really, really helpful for you. And then also, for example, my quilt is 72 by 72. I used 180 strips, and I used 4.5 yards for backing and 5/8 yard for binding. So anyway, this is just another great option. I think a lot of people have made one of these before, but if you haven't, it is another really great way to use your scraps. And again, I'll have a link in the description where you can go to my blog and get that free PDF pattern. And then finally, I just wanted to show you one more idea. We've had this here on YouTube before, but I actually sent out an email the other day to my email list and to the people who get my weekly emails, and shared this, and I was really surprised at how many people messaged me back and hadn't seen it before. So this is just another idea for a scrappy project. It's good because it uses really small pieces and smaller scraps, and this is a pillow I made. And then actually, based on somebody who saw the pillow and made a table runner, I did a table runner too. So just another really great idea for using even the smallest of your scraps. So we will also have a link to this in the description, so you can go to the blog post where I share all about, it's actually a post on the pillow, and then for the table runner, I just put it together with strips, and you can use whatever size borders that you want to do. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation about all things scrappy quilts, and hopefully you got some ideas, and hopefully you'll also join along with us with the Happy Go Lucky Quilt Along coming up in June. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with a friend, hit the like button, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much for stopping by.